tomorrow because she's relaunching her party. That's right, NARC-Kenya is going to become the People's Liberation Party tomorrow. And we are glad to have her on the bench. Good to see you, madam.
Nice to see you, Jeff.
How you doing?
I'm good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So from NARC-Kenya to PLP, why?
I think after nearly 2 decades, it's time for a renovation. We change our wardrobes after a time. We renovate and remodel our houses. So that house, once called NARC-Kenya, has now been remodeled to People's Liberation Party. It is still the flower party. We maintain the flower, but now it is a purple rose. And we will be saying much more than that tomorrow, but it is need-driven. We needed a name that speaks to people, that you don't have to ask, what does that mean? If you ask somebody today what NARC means, they don't know. Even when you tell them National Rainbow Coalition, they would need a story for them to connect. But when you say people, nobody needs an explanation about people. If you say liberation, nobody needs an explanation. So a name that speaks to you.
Who came up with the name? You?
Let me say that our team, because all these things are joint efforts, our team came up with the names. We threw several names in the basket and settled on that one.
Why the purple rose?
Purple is a color of hope. It's pleasing to the eye. It's warm. At a time, we are so weather-beaten by economic wars, by insecurity, abduction, executions, all those. When our spirits are low, something to brighten up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of spirits being low, Iron Lady, are you disappointed with how your former party leader or coalition leader, how he turned out? Are you disappointed? I'm talking about Raila Odinga.
I was disappointed and I got over it. Yeah. You let people be because everybody is entitled to chart out their own path. He chose his path. I and NARC-Kenya parted. At that time, NARC-Kenya, now People's Liberation Party, we parted with Azimio Coalition. So we let him be, and we be, yeah.
And you're cool, I mean, you're fine. I mean,
we are fine about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he took his choice, we take ours, yeah.
Is the Iron Lady gonna stand for president?
Yes, I have already announced that, I've already said so. But I keep on repeating that there are many of us who are in the opposition persuasion, and I would call progressives, who have declared, and that is the way it should be. There should be competition. But because we are conscious of the dire need for transforming this country, I am conscious that further ahead, we must unite and come up with a single candidate in order to send this clueless KK government home and its allies.
Are you going to be able to? I know we are 2 years and change away, Iron Lady, but are you going to be able to? Because there's Kalonzo Musyoka, there's Eugene Wamalwa.
Yes.
There's a whole list.
And many more than 20 maybe. Yeah.
You're going to be able...
that's quite okay. Everybody must grow their dream. Whether it is my twin, political twin, Kalonzo Musyoka, whether it's Eugene, be it Tom Tata, be it a young fellow like Morara Kebaso, be it Ruben Kigame, be it anybody else who comes up, whether it's David Maraga, Matiang'i, anybody who has thrown the hat in the ring, it's as it should be. Everybody must grow their dream. And once we grow our individual dreams, it will start becoming clearer who ought to be, or among how many, you know?
Yeah.
It will sort itself out.
And you will be able to accept whoever is the front runner.
I deputized Raila. I wasn't the presidential candidate. That should tell you that for me, Kenya is bigger than any one of us. And look at a person like my twin brother Kalonzo. He has been deputy to Raila several times, and he has run on his own like I did once. And that tells you that he too is aware and believes Kenya is bigger than any one of us. Yeah. And speaking to my colleagues, many of them, they hold the same view.
Tell me something, what happens to NARC members right now once you've transitioned to PLP?
This is part of what they wanted. Remember, to be able to change a party's name, you have to have the approval of your national delegates conference. The change move started sometime early 2023. The official application to the registrar was done by one of our members. That was in May. And when it was approved, sometimes August, September, they wrote a letter disclosing they did it on behalf of the party and handing it over to us. We've gone through all the necessary legal steps, done all the compliances with the registrar. Yeah. And so when we were given a certificate this year, as the People's Liberation Party, the certificate of change of name, we had put into effect the wishes of the membership of the party. Yeah.
Tell me something. People are asking, what is the ideology of the party? How different is it from what NARC-Kenya was or other parties? You know, since multi-parties, I mean, you were there from 1990 onwards.
We are social democrats. We also, and we are founded on the foundation of social justice and civil liberties, which include not just political rights, but individual liberties, which we take very seriously. Therefore, and the rule of law, of course. There cannot be social justice where the rule of law does not obtain. And therefore, one of our priorities is to ensure that the country is run on the foundations of rule of law, that the law applies equally to everybody, and that institutions function the way they are supposed to function. Where there is rule of law, you do not need to micromanage. Every institution will do its work. Public spending will be as envisaged by the Constitution and the Financial Act. It will be prudent spending, prioritizing not the leader's comfort, not the comforts of the political elite, but the critical needs of Kenyans, such as health, such as education. A serious government would not be debating a court ruling and failing to disburse the much needed funds for university education. If the new model that the KK regime wanted has been rejected as constitutional, there's no vacuum. You revert to the old model. Help should be operating. But the KK regime is refusing and punishing parents and students who need to go to school. That's what a caring government does. That's not what a reasonable, people-centered regime would do. They would have already reverted to help, and there was nothing wrong with help.
You're very outspoken on abductions.
Yeah.
You really came out and you kept talking about it over and over again. What's going on?
I would ask the same question. What's going on, Dr. William Ruto and your KK regime and allies? Why is security of the person and their property not guaranteed? The reason for existence of any government that has legitimacy is to secure the person and the property, to secure every citizen. We cannot have abductions and have police going to court to say they do not know. Yet the Constitution gives the security organs, which include the police, the Directorate of Internal Intelligence Services, the Army. With the police include the Director of Criminal Investigations, the police, the entire police. They have, as the security organs in this country, and as the National Security Council, which includes the Attorney General and several ministers, including the Minister of Internal Security and Foreign Affairs, they have the mandate, the supervisory role over security operators to guarantee security. Why should they continue to draw salaries when Kenyans are not secure? And that includes Dr. William Ruto and Kindiki, his deputy.
Is it disturbing? Are you worried about it going forward?
It is very disturbing. So many people have been abducted. So many have died. According to the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, over 81 are still missing after the Gen Z protests. And people still call themselves leaders of the country. You can't be a leader of the dead or the disappeared. This is something that ought to be taken very seriously. It's not being taken seriously.
No.
I can tell you that a PLP government would take personal liberties, including freedom, right to life, because right to life precedes freedom. So it's life and liberty. You must secure those. Yeah, among other fundamental rights.
Iron Lady, let's switch gears a little bit. You recently met with former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua in Kirinyaga.
Yes, I did.
What was that meeting about?
That meeting was a meeting for friendship, you see. We shared a meal, and we let bygones be bygones, and started a journey as brother and sister. And we continue to strengthen that friendship. And we pledge to work together for Kenyans. And to seek other leaders. And to work together with leaders from different corners of Kenya who believe that Kenya needs to be rescued from the stranglehold of the rogue KK regime.
So in that meeting, in the lunch meeting, did the president's name come up, and is the president the enemy?
The enemy is, if at all, anytime I speak, the name of Dr. Ruto comes up, it comes up as the head of the rogue KK regime. It's not so much about him, it's about his leadership and the entire group that he's leading with and his allies. The way they are holding Kenyans on a chokehold. Kenyans can't breathe. We can't breathe economically. We can't access health. Our children cannot access education. Even the capitation funds. I talked of university. Capitation is also not flowing to the schools. Nothing seems to be working except the ruling elite accessing luxury trips, and splashing our money like it's the end of the world. When children are dying, you saw that little baby Ariana who died in India. You have seen many people, disappointed by Shah Chief. What is happening? They're paying more money than they used to pay under NHIF. So who's benefiting by our money? The burden of taxation, raiding of pay slips. People are no longer able, working people are actually not able to cater for their families. People are not able to make ends meet. They had committed their money, but the pay slips are being raided in a manner not seen before in this country. And the principles of taxation are clear. You cannot tax people beyond where it becomes impossible for them to survive reasonably.
Tell me something, Iron Lady. Rigiji plans to launch his party in May. That's what he said.
He has said so.
Right.
Yeah.
So how is that going to be different? I mean, is it divide and rule almost, or can't you both all come together if that's the point?
We fought for multi-party. We must celebrate the fact that we can build as many political parties as possible. How those parties come together is the business of those of us who want to work together. But we must accept the freedom of people to launch even more parties, so long as they reach the threshold that is required. And then we can come together. Look at the KK coalition. It has several parties. Look at Azimio, which I belonged to before. It had over 25 parties. Look at even Mwai Kibaki's PNU coalition, those days, over 25 parties. So this is not new. Let people exercise the freedom of coming together the way they want, and then forming a coalition, a grand coalition, if you like. Yeah.
You know, I'm going to take a break, come back, but I need to let the Gen Zs know that you're probably one of the only people who walked away from an event that former President Daniel Arap Moi was attending.
Twice.
Jeez. Twice.
Twice.
And then he said after that, nguruwe imejikaranga na mafuta yake.
Yeah, but I don't know what he said after I left. Yes.
That's why they call her the Iron Lady, folks. She is pure iron. Martha Karua, whose party, NARC-Kenya, is about to change tomorrow, February the 27th, to the People's Liberation Party. And she says she's running for president. What do you think? Keep tweeting at Kwenanga Jeff, at Citizen TV, the hashtag JKLIVE. JKLIVE takes a break. We'll be back in a moment.